There are moments in life when God speaks, and it may not come in the form of thunder or a lightning bolt, but in a still, small voice, a whisper that catches your spirit and refuses to let go. This warning is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to prepare you to awaken something within you that has been dormant. It is a divine nudge, a signal that the season you are in is shifting, that the path you have walked for so long is about to intersect with a destiny far greater than you have imagined. God's warnings are never random, never accidental. They are deliberate, intentional, and full of purpose. They are a manifestation of His love, a reflection of His desire to protect you from harm, to steer you toward your true calling, and to position you for the blessings that He has already ordained. When God sends a warning, He is inviting you to lean into Him, to listen with your spirit, and to respond with faith, not fear. Many times, people mistake divine warnings for ordinary intuition or coincidence, but those who are attuned to the voice of God recognize the subtlety and the urgency of the message. It may appear as a thought that keeps returning, a dream that lingers in the night, or a message from an unexpected source. God often uses what seems ordinary to deliver the extraordinary. He uses circumstances, people, and events to communicate His will. And He does so in a way that challenges you to pay attention, to be aware, and to act. Ignoring these warnings is not just missing an opportunity, it is resisting the very hand of God that is trying to guide you into a season of favor. The divine warning is also a test of your faith and your readiness. It asks you to trust Him before you see the evidence, to take steps of obedience even when the path is unclear. God is teaching you patience, discernment, and reliance on His timing. He is showing you that the things that come to you by surprise are not accidents, but appointments orchestrated by a power far greater than your own understanding. He is preparing your heart to receive what is coming, preparing your mind to think beyond limitation, and preparing your spirit to embrace a future that exceeds your imagination. Warnings from God are always wrapped in love and protection. They are a shield, a guide, and a beacon pointing toward destiny. They remind you that you are not walking alone, that every step you take is being watched, directed, and blessed. They demand attention and response because God's plans cannot be hindered by human oversight. When you heed His warning, you align yourself with His will, you open doors that were previously closed, and you avoid pitfalls that could have delayed or derailed your journey. The divine warning is an invitation to step into the fullness of His purpose, to trust in His timing, and to recognize that He is always working behind the scenes to bring about your breakthrough. It is in these moments of listening and responding that transformation begins. When you acknowledge the warning, when you prepare your heart and your life to receive what God is sending, you position yourself for elevation. The warning is not a threat, it is a promise. It is a declaration that God is at work, that He sees your struggle, and that He is orchestrating a path that will lead you into favor, provision, and victory beyond what you have ever dared to hope for. Every warning carries within it a seed of blessing, a pathway to your destiny, and an opportunity to walk in alignment with the divine purpose that has been uniquely designed for your life. Opportunities often arrive in ways we least expect, and God sometimes chooses to send them through people, events, or circumstances that seem ordinary on the surface but are extraordinary in purpose. The wealthy stranger is not just a person, it is a representation of God's divine provision, a manifestation of His favor arriving to change the trajectory of your life. This stranger may come in the form of a mentor, a benefactor, a business partner, or even a chance encounter that opens doors you didn't know existed. What makes this moment critical is not the wealth of the individual, but the alignment of their presence with God's perfect timing for your life. God is the one orchestrating this encounter, ensuring that everything falls into place to fulfill His plan for your elevation. Many people wait for blessings to come through familiar paths, expecting the same patterns to bring new results. But God often works in ways that defy human expectation. The wealthy stranger represents a divine interruption, a break in your ordinary rhythm that catapults you into a new season. This is a reminder that God's provision is not limited by your imagination or by the people you already know. When you encounter this person, you must recognize the spiritual significance of the meeting and not dismiss it as mere coincidence. God is signaling that your prayers are being answered, that doors are being unlocked, and that you are about to step into favor in ways you could not create on your own. The arrival of this stranger is also a call to discernment and preparation. God does not simply send opportunities, He tests your readiness to receive them. Are you prepared to handle the responsibility of sudden elevation? Can you maintain integrity, humility, and faith when blessings arrive unexpectedly? The wealthy stranger is more than just a benefactor. They are a vehicle of God's purpose, a conduit through which divine destiny flows. To ignore the encounter or to mishandle the opportunity is to miss a key moment in your life's journey. God's timing is impeccable, and He places people strategically to advance His plans. It's important to understand that the wealthy stranger is also symbolic of divine authority and influence. Sometimes God uses those with resources, connections, or vision to open doors for His children. But the real power lies not in the person, but in the God who orchestrated their arrival. The blessing comes from Him, and He uses this instrument to test your faith, stretch your capacity, and position you for breakthroughs. Your responsibility is to recognize the opportunity and walk boldly into it and remain aligned with God's will throughout the process. Finally, this encounter is a lesson in trust and expectancy. Life-changing opportunities often arrive in unfamiliar packages through strangers who hold the key to your next season. God wants you to see beyond appearances, to embrace the promise of what is to come, and to step into it with courage. The wealthy stranger is not just a person, they are a symbol of God's faithfulness, a reminder that when you are obedient and prepared, God moves on your behalf. Your future, your breakthrough, and your elevation may very well depend on your response to this encounter, and the way you receive it will determine the trajectory of your destiny. Relocation is more than a physical move. It is a divine repositioning, a shift that aligns you with God's plan for your life in ways that transcend the ordinary. When God speaks about moving you, He is not merely talking about changing your address, your job, or your circumstances. He is talking about shifting your entire destiny. There are seasons when you must leave what is comfortable, familiar, or even safe in order to step into the place God has prepared for you. And while leaving behind the known can feel uncomfortable, challenging, or even frightening, it is often necessary for your elevation. God's relocation is not punishment. It is preparation for something far greater than what you have experienced so far. The shift of location is symbolic of a shift in your spiritual, emotional, and financial life. God wants to move you from limitation to abundance, from stagnation to progress, from waiting to favor. Sometimes we become too comfortable in the places we are, clinging to routine habits or old patterns that no longer serve our purpose. God uses relocation to jolt us into awareness, to push us out of our comfort zones, and to place us where His provision can flow unimpeded. It is a spiritual invitation to embrace change, trust His timing, and step boldly into a future that He has orchestrated with precision. Relocation also brings new opportunities for growth and influence. When you are positioned in a new place, you meet new people, encounter fresh ideas, and gain access to resources that were previously unavailable. Every encounter, every connection, and every experience in this new season is a building block for the destiny God has designed for you. But the key is readiness. You must prepare your heart, your mind, and your spirit for this transition, because God is moving you not just to change your environment, but to elevate your life and amplify your impact. There is a spiritual principle here. God often relocates people to test their faith and obedience. He wants to see whether you trust Him enough to leave the familiar behind, whether you can follow His guidance even when the path is unclear, and whether you can embrace the unknown with confidence. Relocation demands surrender. You must release control over your life and trust that God's plan is perfect. His timing is impeccable and His direction is always precise. The place He is moving you to may seem unfamiliar or intimidating, but it is exactly where you are meant to be for your breakthrough, your promotion, and your ultimate victory. Moreover, relocation is a message that your current season does not define your destiny. God is always able to elevate you beyond your present circumstances, to place you where you can fully realize your purpose, and to surround you with people, opportunities, and resources that align with His plan. It is a divine invitation to rise above limitations, embrace transformation, and walk boldly into the life He has prepared for you. Each step toward this new position is a step into favor, a step into provision, and a step into the fullness of your calling. Faith and readiness are the cornerstones of receiving God's promises, and without them, even the greatest opportunity can pass by unnoticed. God often prepares a blessing long before it arrives, and He uses the time of waiting to shape your heart, strengthen your spirit, and expand your capacity to handle what is coming. Faith is not simply believing in what you can see. It is trusting in what God has promised, even when the path is unclear, when the circumstances seem impossible, or when the world tells you it will never happen. Readiness, on the other hand, is action. It It is the discipline of preparing yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually so that when the moment comes, you are able to step into it with confidence and integrity. Faith without readiness is like having a key, but not knowing which door it opens. Readiness without faith is like standing at a door, hesitant to turn the knob. True breakthrough requires both working together in harmony. God uses the periods of preparation to reveal your true character and to cultivate endurance. He is not just preparing you to receive, He is preparing you to steward the blessings that are coming. When a wealthy stranger arrives or when an opportunity presents itself, you must be ready to respond wisely. This means being spiritually alert, having a mindset of expectancy, and being willing to step out of your comfort zone. Readiness requires that you lay aside doubt, fear, and hesitation. It requires courage, boldness, and trust that God's plan is greater than any temporary setback, disappointment, or delay you may have experienced. Faith also compels you to act even when you cannot see the full picture. It is the invisible force that propels you forward when circumstances seem stacked against you. It is the quiet, persistent confidence that God is orchestrating everything for your good, that no detail is overlooked, and that the right people, resources, and opportunities are already moving toward you. Readiness ensures that when these moments arrive, you will not be caught off guard or overwhelmed. You will have the wisdom, the mindset, and the preparation to recognize divine favor and step boldly into it. Another important aspect of faith and readiness is patience. God's timing is often different from our own, and waiting does not mean inactivity. It means preparation, growth, and alignment. Readiness requires patience to allow God to work behind the scenes, knowing that His plan is perfect and that the delay is not denial. It is in these moments that your faith is tested and strengthened, and your readiness becomes a reflection of your trust in His divine wisdom. Ultimately, faith and readiness work together to create a life that is receptive to miracles. Faith plants the seed of belief, while readiness nurtures it, ensuring that when God opens the door, you are prepared to walk through it. When both are present, you are no longer dependent on luck, timing, or chance. You are positioned to receive what God has already ordained for your life. You become aligned with His will, capable of seizing opportunities, and equipped to step into your destiny without hesitation. This is why God emphasizes both faith and readiness. One without the other leaves you unprepared for the fullness of the blessings He desires to pour into your life. Fear and doubt are the greatest thieves of destiny, the invisible chains that keep people from walking into the fullness of what God has prepared for them. Every one of us has faced moments when uncertainty creeps in, when our minds whisper lies about our inadequacy, or when circumstances appear so overwhelming that moving forward seems impossible. But God is calling you to rise above those thoughts, to refuse to let fear dictate your decisions, and to trust that He is greater than every obstacle, every delay, and every limitation that stands in your way. Overcoming fear is not about pretending it does not exist. It is about acknowledging it, confronting it, and walking boldly in spite of it. Doubt is the seed of hesitation, and hesitation will always rob you of the blessings that are already on their way. God never promises a life without challenges, but he does promise his presence and his provision. The wealthy stranger, the divine opportunity, and the relocation of your life are all steps into a season that requires courage. To embrace these blessings, you must silence the voice of fear and replace it with faith. You must remind yourself that God's plan is perfect, that he is in control, and that what is coming has been orchestrated by a power far greater than your own understanding. Fear will tell you to wait, to hold back, to question, and to doubt, but faith pushes you forward, reminding you that the promise of God cannot be hindered by human uncertainty. Overcoming doubt also requires a shift in perspective. You must learn to see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth, not as failures, but as lessons that prepare you for the breakthrough ahead. Every delay, every challenge, and every moment of uncertainty has a purpose to strengthen your resolve, to refine your character, and to prepare you to handle the abundance that is coming. Doubt thrives in the absence of clarity, but faith thrives in the presence of God's truth. When you focus on his promises rather than your problems, your confidence rises, your courage strengthens, and fear loses its grip. Another key aspect of overcoming fear is taking action in spite of it. Faith without works is incomplete, and stepping into the unknown often requires movement before you feel ready. God does not call the fully prepared. He prepares those whom he calls. Each step you take, even when trembling with uncertainty, is a declaration that you trust his plan more than your fear. It is an act of courage that signals to the universe and to yourself that you are ready to receive the blessings he has ordained. Finally, overcoming fear and doubt is about perspective and alignment with God's will. When you recognize that your life is in his hands, when you understand that he is orchestrating every detail, you are no longer held captive by the what-ifs or the unknowns. You are empowered to walk boldly into your destiny, to embrace the wealthy stranger, to step into your relocation, and to operate with confidence, knowing that fear has no authority over the plans God has for you. By facing fear head on and silencing doubt with unwavering faith, you position yourself for miracles, breakthroughs, and elevation that will leave a lasting testimony for generations to come. Every breakthrough, every divine encounter, every relocation, and every step of obedience is not only for your benefit, it is also for the testimony that will inspire others. God does not move in isolation. He moves in a way that impacts generations, communities, and even strangers who are watching, waiting, and hoping for a sign of his power. Your life is not just your own. It is a living example of what faith, obedience, and perseverance can produce. When you step boldly into the opportunities God provides, when you embrace the wealthy stranger, when you trust him through fear and doubt, you create a story that will encourage someone else to believe, to hope, and to act. Your testimony is the tangible evidence of God's faithfulness, and it carries the power to ignite hope in hearts that have been broken, delayed, or discouraged. Testimony is born out of action, not just words. It is not enough to know that God is faithful. Your life must reflect it. When you take steps of faith, even when the path is unclear, even when obstacles appear, You demonstrate to the world that God's promises are real. People may not see the private prayers, the moments of struggle, or the nights of uncertainty, but they will see the results. The transformation, the favor, the relocation, the breakthrough, and they will be inspired to believe that the same God who moved for you can move for them. Your impact begins with your willingness to trust God fully, to respond obediently, and to walk into your destiny even when the odds seem impossible. Moreover, testimony has a multiplying effect. One person who experiences a God's favor and shares it openly can ignite faith in countless others. The wealthy stranger who crosses your path, the relocation that elevates your life, and the moments of divine provision are not only personal blessings, they are opportunities to demonstrate God's power in action. Your story will become a blueprint for others, showing them that God's timing is perfect, that his ways are higher than human understanding, and that no obstacle is too great for his hand to overcome. Every step you take toward your destiny, every act of courage, every decision to trust in God contributes to a legacy of hope, inspiration, and transformation. Testimony also reinforces your own faith. When you reflect on where you were, what you faced, and how God brought you through, your confidence in him deepens. You begin to understand that you are not defined by circumstances, setbacks, or limitations, but by the power of the one who guides your steps. Your story becomes a reminder that God is always working behind the scenes, that he is faithful to deliver, and that his promises are certain. As you live out your testimony, you demonstrate to yourself and others that God's plans are greater than fear, doubt, or human reasoning. Ultimately, your testimony is a tool of influence and encouragement. It carries authority because it is rooted in lived experience, a witness to God's faithfulness in action. By embracing every divine opportunity, trusting through fear, stepping into relocation, and walking in obedience, you create a narrative that uplifts, inspires, and impacts the lives of countless others. Your life becomes a living sermon, a beacon of hope, and a testament to the unshakable power and provision of God.